What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Conflicts of Interest. This is episode 181. I'm the host, Kyle Anzalone. On today's show, I have an interview with, I think, the two boldest truth tellers on the COVID issue to come and break down the propaganda. It's Joanne Leon, who hosts Around the Empire, and Pete Quiñones, who hosts Free Man Beyond the Wall and is at the Libertarian Institute. And they come on and just smash every narrative. Now, one thing I want to do when I had them on is not have them self-censor themselves, which means this entire interview can't appear on YouTube. So I think about 10 minutes into it, it'll cut off. I'll come back with a message giving you guys the places where you could find the full show, but you're only going to be able to hear a part of it on YouTube because they censor so much. And rather than, I'm bringing on the truth tellers of COVID, I don't want them to have to say, well, I can't say this, I can't say that. They're going to tell you exactly what they think, and it's absolutely phenomenal. We talk Fauci, talk vaccines, talk masks, talk what people could do to actually get over COVID or prevent getting it. So a lot of great stuff in today's show. I think everybody's absolutely going to love it. I think it's one of the more important shows that I've done. It's been probably the most important, not covering foreign policy at the very least. And so definitely take the time to share this show. The full show will be available at the Libertarian Institute, the audio version of the show, if you're listening to that. Everywhere I release the audio version, I'm just going to release a full show. If you want the whole video version, again, the Institute, Rumble, or Odyssey, if you're just listening now on YouTube, definitely hit the subscribe button, because I don't usually do this where I just release part of the show on YouTube, but that's what's happening today. And you can support the show either by supporting the Libertarian Institute. Right now we are doing our fall fund drive, so head over there, and that's where me and Pete both work. Joanne, we sometimes post her show on the blog, but she's not quite a libertarian, so if you want to support her work, she has all the information at aroundtheempire.com. And then you could support this show by doing your CBD shopping at Paloma Verde. The URL is palomaverdecbd.com. The promo code is PEACE, and that saves you 25% off when you spend $75 or more. They have a great lineup of products at Paloma Verde. Every one of their products is high quality. It's lab tested. They even put the lab tester results right there on their website, so you could go and look and say, like, oh, hey, like, I'm ordering this extract, and they'll have right there lab tester results showing that this extract does contain this amount of CBD and other useful additives like melatonin or curcumin, whatever you could use to help yourself. I really like their topicals. If anybody's got like back pain, muscle pain, gets sore after working out, I would recommend their sports cream for that. It works really well. It smells great. It works quick. It lasts a long time. But they have a ton of great products that you could look at. Paloma Verde. If you're new to CBD, they have a nice education tab right there on the website to give you a ton of information about all their products. PalomaVerdeCBD.com, promo code PEACE. And here's the interview with Pete and Joanne. All right. Hey, Pete, how's it going? Welcome back to the show.
Hey, Kyle, what's going on? Thank you for having me back.
Excited to have you for this one. And Joanne, welcome back to the show. It's been a while since both of you have been on, but very excited to have both of you here. I think this is the first time you guys have ever had a conversation, so I think people will be happy I facilitated this, and this is going to be a great thing we're doing today. Talking about COVID myths, propaganda, just kind of how things have gone in the past 19 months now, and from people I've talked to and who I've been paying attention to. Me and Joanne share a DM where we talk every day, so we've kind of been on this. And Pete, I listen to your show and see what you post, read your Substack, and of course we talk and everything like that too. And I feel like of anybody, you two have been the most willing to accept what has happened. I feel like a lot of people have, including myself, have just been kind of, I don't think it's going to go like this. I think it'll get a little bit better at some point. But you two, from the start, have pretty much been pretty on top of it. So I guess I just want to admit, I remember when this was first starting in January of 2020. I do the news roundup every day, so I'm on Reuters World every day, reading like multiple times a day every story, and I'm seeing every single story is like Indonesia had 27 cases today, Singapore had 13 cases today, South Korea had 50, Iran had 150, and this is every single. I couldn't find. You could go back and listen to the old show in January 2020 and hear me complain that I can't find any news to report on because everything is just being dominated by COVID. And I thought that was really strange because the numbers they were citing out of China for didn't really seem that bad. They like 100,000 people had died in a country of 1.3 billion after it was pretty well known that they had ignored slash downplayed the virus at least for a month and a half, right? Like maybe goes back a lot further, but at least for a month and a half that they had downplayed it. And nobody wanted to tackle this contradiction. So right on the start, I guess I was always very skeptical of everything. But Joanne, I know you've been far more so. But Pete, I'm just wondering if you could if you can remember back that far, what were some of your initial takes on this, and what were some of the first early red flags for you that something's wrong here?
I was pretty much in denial that they were going to do anything until they canceled the NBA season. When they canceled the NBA season, I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then the NHL canceled and MLB said that they were going to postpone. And I was like, there's something's happening here. And I did an episode that someone had told me about. I'd completely forgotten about it in February with Monica Perez. And this is before lockdowns. This is when the FDA is still saying, or the Surgeon General is still saying, don't wear masks, save them for, so nobody really knows what's going on. And we did a show, and it's so funny because she like nailed so much of what happened. I would say 80% of what she said was going to happen happened. And right from the start, as soon as the numbers started coming out that this was predominant, well, okay, let's go back a little bit. When those videos came out of China with people keeling over in the street, I was just like, come on. I was just like, this is babies getting pulled out of incubators. I'm like, this is insane. There's no way people are just keeling over in the street. If people were keeling over in the street, that country would have been just shut down, locked down, the whole thing. They wouldn't have taken any chances because, China does that. And so I was really suspicious of the whole thing right from the start. When numbers started coming out that people were dying and everything, I was washing my hands more than I normally did. But I was a germaphobe when this started, and I'm like not a germaphobe now. This like cured me of my germophobia because I just like rebelled against the whole thing. And when I started to really understand that this was bad was I was talking to somebody in Switzerland, because I had really been touting for about 6 months the Swiss model that let's break it down into small, if we want real liberty, break it down into small areas, have cantons like Switzerland does. I got on Skype with somebody from Switzerland, and he told me, I think this was March 16th, 2020. And he worked with law enforcement. And he said they just had a lockdown that is like, he said, I don't know that people are going to be allowed to go out of their houses to get food. And when he said that happened in Switzerland, that's when I was like, we are effed. I mean, I just knew that if Switzerland was doing that, it was going to come here. Immediately, I said probably the only hope is going to be federalism, that some states would say no. The amount of states that said no were small, but yeah, that's how I saw it. The first thing really was those videos coming out of China, which really got my BS meter up. And then when the sports leagues, which bring in billions, shut down, I was like, there's something really, really weird going on here. And I wasn't convinced that it was, from the start, I wasn't convinced that this virus was, going to be the Spanish flu, especially when very soon after it was like, well, the people who are dying of this are 80 years old, the majority. And then I just started tracking everything that they started doing, and Yeah, I became basically I wanted to be the I wanted to be one of the voices of this who reported on it, and I did pretty much every episode. I just this is what we talked about because I knew what this was going to be, and 20 months later, I was in an airport last week, and people screaming at each other to put their masks over their nose.
Wow.
And if you had told me 20 months ago or in January of 2020 that this is the world we were going to be living in, I would have called you a liar and bet you a lot of money and lost a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't disagree with that too much. Yeah, I remember when March Madness shut down. It actually, I thought, well, maybe hell, they might have something real here because they're giving up billions of dollars for that thing. But, anyways, Joanne, I know you also listen to Monica Perez quite a bit, so I don't know if she early on had an influence on you as well.
Joanne, you're muted.
Not the sharpest tool in the shed tonight. Yeah, I definitely did listen to. In fact, I just started to listen to her. In fact, I'm thinking that your interview with her, Pete, may have been the reason why I started listening to her show. Kind of funny how things happen. Um, and she had picked up on the Event 201 simulation right from the start. I personally thought that she was making too much of it. I did doubt them, but I couldn't stop listening. I'm like, there was something here. And she consumed so many books, so many documents, and things like that. And I try to listen to people like that as much as I can because it's really hard to go through the source documents. And in that case, like all these videos and things like that. So the Event 201 thing had definitely triggered my suspicion. I had in November and December. I guess we all had heard about the things that were happening in China, although a surprising amount of people had not. It had no idea what was going on in China. And I'd have to look back at my text, but I texted my kids. I'm like, yeah, I think there are going to be supply shortages, and you ought to stock up on some masks. Any of your favorite stuff, get some extra in. And they're like, nah. But anyway, they did start taking it seriously too. And now, frankly, they take it more seriously than I do. It's funny how things change. But yeah, so the Event 201 definitely caught my attention and made me very suspicious. I'd also been doing interviews with Whitney Webb for, I don't know, about 2 years, more than 2 years now. And she had done a lot of work on a lot of things that are involved in this, not exactly knowing that a pandemic was coming, but more in the social credit type systems, the tracking, the surveillance, and overall control by, you know, some type of a global coalition, whatever you want to call them. So I guess it was easier for me to accept that kind of thing. Also, I had looked a lot into the anthrax attacks. And so I knew a little bit about the bioweaponry, biodefense industry. So there was that. In January of 2020, Hervoy at Geopolitics and Empire did an interview with Francis Boyle that got a lot of attention. He wrote the Bioweapons Convention of, I guess, the late 80s, I think it was. And he called it out right from the start. So there were people who I couldn't ignore. And also Sam Husseini did a lot of early work on it. And he was talking to Richard Ebright at Rutgers, and being a Rutgers alum, that, perked my attention up, and I started listening to what Ebright was saying. So I guess it was a convergence of things. I don't think it was any one thing that really set me off. But one of the things that I developed a radar for is how the media handles things. And if they do a full scale blitz, a full on blitz, I immediately get really suspicious about that something's coming. Usually it's not good. And it's the way they cover it. And like you said, Kyle, we were just saturated with this stuff. There were a whole lot of other things too. But lastly, I'll say that I was shocked when they closed down the churches. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And frankly, I feel like every day, Kyle, you probably know because we talked, a lot all through this, almost every day. And I feel like every day I'm saying I've never seen anything like this in my life, in my whole life, and I've now been around for a long time. So everything was unprecedented, and I was getting more and more fearful. And like I said, last thing, I'm in New Jersey. It was a hot spot. Um, and so things that were happening here sort of first. And we have this really strange guy is our governor. He's a Goldman Sachs governor. And he started acting like a dictator, like pretty quickly, right off the bat, and doing these daily. He and Cuomo were both doing these daily. They were holding court, if you will. Um, they started doing things like arresting people for having outdoor parties down at the shore and things like that. So anyway, that's really the kinds of things that set me off.
All right, everyone, that's where I am ending the YouTube version of this episode. So if you want the whole thing, go to thelibertarianinstitute.org, Rumble, or Odyssey. And the links to all of those are, of course, down below on the YouTube page. So just scroll down until you see one of them. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you're watching it. If you go to the Libertarian Institute, think about supporting. I think Scott still has matching funds going on. If you donate $100, it becomes $200. It's a pretty sweet deal. So think about supporting us over at the Institute and the work that myself and Pete Quiñones do. All right. Thanks, everybody.